Rock Health, we exist to transform health for all humanity and bring greater humanity to healthcare. There are a few different ways that we do that. So we do have a venture fund. So through Rock Health Capital, we're investing in early stage entrepreneurs and companies in the digital health space. We also have a not-for-profit. So there are a lot of areas that have been underinvested in, where there's a lot of opportunity for more innovation. And there's a ton of commercial opportunity, but we just haven't seized on that. So our nonprofit is really focused on a few breakthrough areas, one of which is women's health, pediatric mental health, and then also primary care. And then the piece that I oversee, Rock Health Advisory, that's our consulting arm of Rock Health. And so we really work with large enterprise companies to make smart innovation bets.
So Rock Health just published new data on how consumers are using digital health. What trends are you seeing, Megan?
What we found this year is that digital health, it's not a passing fad. It's really become a way that people are seeking care, are seeking information, and also just trying to understand their own body and health opportunities. And I know that because in the data from last year, we saw that over 50% of the population had a telehealth visit in the past year. Over half also said they owned a wearable or a connected device, and over half were also tracking at least one health metric. And so that's a real sea change for when we saw this, when we started this over a decade ago. And this year, we really tried to cut the data looking at generations, because we were like, you know what? Is Gen Z engaging with digital health tools differently than baby boomers or millennials? And the answer, perhaps not surprisingly, is yes. And so for the digital natives, for millennials, for Gen Z, we do see a lot of adoption, the most adoption in terms of telehealth, in terms of wearables. I think what's interesting about Gen Z, perhaps not surprising, they were the most likely to be going to Gen AI tools like ChatGPT to get information about their health, to figure out, okay, I'm having these symptoms, what might be going on. They were also, of all the generations, the least trusting of information from traditional providers. And you can see how some of that lack of trust might be driving them towards some of these alternative mechanisms to get healthcare information.
And what are some of the most innovative business moves you're seeing right now in digital health?
I see a lot of these commercial partnerships popping up where you're connecting those connected device and wearable companies with virtual care and triage companies that can kind of decide, okay, does Megan need ongoing monitoring, or does she need to go to the emergency room? Does she need an in-person visit with the traditional healthcare system, so that you're creating kind of a pipeline of care that is actually more proactive. It's alerting patients sooner and earlier to things that might be wrong, and more seamlessly connecting them into that healthcare delivery system. And I'm really excited about that.
Primary care is frequently cited as a top area of AI-driven transformation. What does Rock Health's research reveal about primary care clinicians' receptiveness to AI? And how do you help organizations implement these tools effectively?
We were really fortunate this past year to partner with the American Academy of Family Physicians. With their help, we were able to survey over 1,200 primary care clinicians about, are they leveraging AI already in their workflow? What are they hesitant or skeptical about? Over half of them said, we are already using AI-powered clinical decision support. We're using it to help with documentation. Where they said they wanted help, they wanted more support and understanding how to use those tools. They wanted a better understanding of kind of like, what are the ethical frameworks? What are the risk frameworks that they should be thinking about to make sure that these tools are used appropriately and they're safe? And they wanted more input. Over half of them said that they weren't necessarily engaged in the process of deciding for their practices. And I think that if you can engage clinicians across that entire flow of selection of vendors, in that co-development of how you actually integrate that into their practice, you're going to have a lot more meaningful engagement from them. You're going to get to better solutions and impact. And so I think that was like the most important insight, was how do we engage those clinicians as part of this process, because they want it. Like, they want this technology to transform their practice, get rid of those menial administrative tasks, and just make them be able to spend more quality time with their patients.
And finally, Megan, with the new administration making significant moves on the healthcare front, what risks and opportunities do you see for digital health?
There's a lot that remains to be seen, but I think that the administration has made it super clear that they are very focused on budget cuts, and they're very focused on efficiency. Digital health has a huge role to play when it comes to how do we make a healthcare system that is more efficient, We are taking costs out of the system, but we are also improving outcomes for patients and providers. I don't think that you can get to efficiency just through spending cuts, right? You have to find who those innovators are that are really kind of dedicating all of their energy and time to figuring out how do we find those efficiencies that aren't destructive to the system, but are truly additive.
All right. Well, Megan, it's been wonderful to talk with you today. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.